Hi, this is probably the toughest challenge in Act 2. The title of the challenge, let me just peek, is a Rogue Gnome Identity Provider. And even though this is rated 2 snowflakes difficulty out of 5, I sort of felt with this challenge that this is a little bit out of place, and it could be easily a challenge with 3 snowflakes, probably like the rest of Act 3. But it is true that we get a lot of good hints and notes along the way. This is still going to be a complex challenge with lots of steps, so I'm gonna go slowly because I need to do a lot of manipulation and copy pasting. I don't want to make mistakes, and I also want you to comprehend what is going on here because, again, this is a pretty complex but really cool challenge. So let's check it out. So this challenge is hosted by Paul, who is in the park. If we talk to Paul, he is explaining his background, and this challenge is on a GVT manipulation, basically. One type of attack against JSON Web Tokens, and the hints are going to tell you about JVKS. So there is here a possibility for JVKS spoofing attacks. The idea with these type of attacks is basically that the JVT is hopefully going to be signed. If not, then that's a whole different kind of issue and vulnerability. And this signing requires, of course, a key pair. So somewhere you need to host a public key, and this public key must be trusted. Now, if there's no validation on the public key, you just check for the validity of the signature, then, well, there's a possibility for JVKS spoofing attacks. The other hint is telling you about the JVT underscore tool, and also points you to Portswigger's Web Security Academy, which is an excellent resource on JVT attacks. These are both pretty good resources to understand the vulnerability, but the exploitation part is a totally different question, in my opinion. So these are not bad resources, but there is actually not that much on JVKS spoofing attacks, on like how to actually perform the attack. The JVT underscore tool has maybe just a couple references on how to use the tool, with not actual examples, but just the syntax of the commands, which, if you ask me, is not exactly what most people are out there to look up when they are just learning the attack. But we have a great opportunity here with this objective, so I will show you the steps, and it was also new to me. And that's it. We get these 3 hints for this challenge, and again, this challenge is on paper 2 snowflakes difficulty. I really wish that the navigation bar would scroll when my mouse cursor is here, not just when it's on the scroll bar. Another feature request for the developers, maybe for next year. So 2 snowflakes, but it's a pretty tough one. So it's one of those terminal challenges, and you can see a message here. This also contains hints and guidance. So Paul has a web server running here. He explains this, I think, in the conversation as well. And he's hosting CyberChef, which is strange. But it's also a hint, and you can see that on my desktop here. I have the browser with the CyberChef tab open already. We're going to use the CyberChef to do the manipulation. I kind of suspect that the JVT tool can take care of most of the steps that I'm going to do, but for me it was easier to understand through this manual process how to actually perform the attack and what are the actual steps. So I am going to use the JVT tool, but just at the very end, to sign our crafted token. We also have in the notes some useful information from Paul. So if we would like to host a file, we can use the www folder here. We can also look at the logs. This will be useful to test the feasibility of the attack. And we also see that JVT tool is installed. We need to change the configuration for this tool later. And then under notes, we can find some, well, useful things. And these are essentially the series of steps that you need to get started with the challenge. And this walks you through the authentication process of this Gnome diagnostic interface. So this architecture here for the application is a very common one. Today, you're probably going to encounter this in a setup where you might have something like Keycloak, which is a very popular platform to handle authentication, authorization as well through JVTs. And there is a similar kind of setup here. So the portal has an authentication function that goes to the identity provider, which is the Gnome identity provider. And you need to authenticate to that identity provider to get a session token that you can use to interact with the application. That's the idea. And the challenge is to become admin on the application. So you can see here the commands mention how to go to the authentication interface, how to go to the identity portal, how to authenticate to the portal with your username and password, and then how to use the token that you received to get a session ID, and then use that session ID to talk to the diagnostic interface, where we need to retrieve the name of the firmware image that the gnomes are using. And initially, I did the same thing. I'm going to copy and paste the commands and their output into my notes, because I want to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes as I manipulate the data. So bear with me on these steps, but I really need to make sure that we have the latest and most up-to-date pieces of the communication. And I'm not using any of the like outdated tokens or anything like that. Okay, so going to the portal, we see that there is, for the diagnostic interface, a hidden URL here where we can go and, under /auth, and we can do the authentication. If we go to the identity portal page, again, this challenge, because everything is kind of hosted locally, requires you to use curl here, but we are now a master of this tool, since we did multiple challenges with this tool. So this one tells you that there's a missing return URI parameter. So when you authenticate to this page, normally you go and you try to authenticate, and then you would go back to the portal after you authenticated to the IDP to retrieve your session token for that application. Now, we also have on this system under polweb.neighborhood CyberChef running. I'm going to save this one as well, just to be absolutely sure. And we will use this to host our JSON file defining the public key that we're going to use to spoof the JVKS. And then the next thing that we can do is provide the actual return URL. I think this is something that was mentioned in the notes. Yeah, so if you make a request to the IDP login page, let's do /notes with a cat maybe. So I'm going to make another request. I'm basically just showing you the steps here. So I'm going to use this time a return URL just to make sure that we have all the required components. And let me just do a mark so I can keep track of what commands I need to issue here. So when we have a return URL, the response changes. And you can see that after providing the username and password, we're going to be redirected to the /auth page. So let's go. And we have credentials provided for us in the challenge. Gnome and sitting on a shelf was the password. Which is a reference for elf on the shelf, but this is a gnome on the shelf. So we are going to authenticate to the IDP portal with our username and password and provide the return URL, which is going to set the location header in the response and a 302 found in a browser. This would, and we could do the same thing with curl. I just want to show you the two stages in two separate steps because it's easier to understand the authentication process this way. So we could follow the redirection with curl. Your browser would automatically do that. And we need to make a second request now with curl to the URI returned in the location header. So we kind of manually going to follow the redirection here. And this is something that I will copy and save for myself. We're going to examine afterwards these tokens. And so we can make another query request to the URI that was in the location header. Just give me a second. I need to copy and paste this into my next command. So pasting, and we can see that we are getting now a session cookie. We are going to use that session cookie to authenticate to the diagnostic portal. And again, this is mentioned in the notes. One more time here. We already completed this step, and now we just need to access the diagnostic interface. So with the cookie that we received, we can do that. Just need to take this session cookie that we received because it's a different one compared to what I have in my notes. Again, I'm just asking for your patience with these steps. And we need to make sure that we are not making any mistakes along the way, because then the authentication would not work. All right. And that's the last step. So in this last step, we are authenticated to the portal and we are on the GNOME diagnostic interface. Unfortunately, this one says this is only available to admins. Okay, so what's going on here? Why we are not getting the access that we desire? And the explanation is fairly simple. I'm going to use JVT.io. This is my favorite interface to analyze JVT tokens. You can also use CyberChef for this one. Actually, I think if we automatically copy it, this will interpret the JVT token. So JVTs are, and I keep saying JVT token, but it's really like redundant. So the T is tokens. So JSON Web Tokens are a three-parter structure, which is, as you can see, base64 encoded. So the header part is going to define how the token is secured and validated. We see the algorithm was RS256. So using RSA basically for the sign-in. We have the JQ, which is the JSON web key set URL. So JVKS URL. This is something that we're going to check later. This is the JSON file that defines the public key. And we can use this one to validate the signature part. Here the verification fails because I just took it out of the terminal, and jvt.io does not have access to this URL here because it's inside the challenge. And in the payload part, we see the name of our user, Gnome, and we can see that it's admin false. So our goal in this challenge is to change admin from false to true and then authenticate to the diagnostic interface. The only problem is that I cannot just go modify this and then submit the same JVT because the validation is going to fail. The signature validation will fail because, well, that's the whole idea of digital signatures, to validate the integrity of the message. But as you are probably thinking, what if we provide our public key? And that's the vulnerability here in the whole application. To check this, we can just set up basically a web server here, and we can use a file that we're going to host on our web server and send to the identity service sorry, not the identity service, to the diagnostic portal, this crafted JVT, and see if the service is trying to fetch the URL that we provide. So this is not the stage where we do the signature validation on the payload. This is fetching the public key to do the validation. So normally the application should only accept this URL, but if it doesn't and it reaches out to whatever URL we provide, then we might be in a good position to perform this attack. Now, I also want to point out that we can, if you like, grab this token and use the JVT underscore tool. Let me just also get the payload part here. And normally the ID should be the same, but I want to make sure that I'm really copying everything here that I need to move on. And this is just to understand what's going on, basically. So far, we haven't even started on the attack part. You can probably see why I said that this is not really a two snowflake challenge for me, but hey, we have a lot of guidance here. So I guess probably I would go with the free snowflakes at this point already. Sorry, I just have some issues with my second screen here. It's being flaky and not willing to comply that much. I'm just going to kind of like wash around a bit. Make sure that the refreshing is not happening all the time, but it keeps happening. Another thing that we can also check and validate is the session token that we're getting back. So this one you can see contains the information that we are not admins and we're going with the username Gnome. Now we can only authenticate with this user. So we're going to authenticate and then craft the token with an admin true value. Unfortunately, the JVT underscore tool does not really able to display what's in the session token. So it ends up with an error. I'm not really going to use the JVT tool to peek inside the JVTs. Instead, I am just going to stick to jvt.io for this challenge. Okay, but let's actually check if we can indeed make the diagnostic interface reach out to our web server. So I'm going to go inside the www folder where we have the files for CyberChef, and I'm going to quickly create a file. We're just going to echo jvks test into test.txt. There's our file, text.txt with 11 characters. Let me just cover these steps. There's no significance, but I want to make sure that I can trace back all the steps that we make here. And we can also validate if this is accessible. So we can make a cur command. And what we are going to basically do here is see if the application, instead of going here and fetching the public key info, is going here to test.txt. All right, we're going to need for this CyberChef. And what I'm going to do is okay, I see what I'm trying to do here. We're going to take this one and we're going to modify the first section here and change the URL for this. What is JVT token? Just gonna probably have a note here that I'm going to use CyberChef here for the token manipulation. And let's grab this part here. So what we want to change here is we want this one to have the URL of our test.txt. And then I want to base64 encode this. And it should result in a token where I am going to swap the first part of the token to this URL. So what I need to grab here is the entirety of the token. And then replace the first part. I'm going to show this one to you as well. From base64. And I'm going to replace the part until the first dot. So here. And we're going to have this one as the manipulated token. All right. So after that, I can make a cur command like this. So I'm going to take this token value and just make another cur command to the diagnostic page /auth and provide this token value. It results in a long error message, which is actually fine and expected because the validation on the token should fail. I'm gonna copy this whole thing as well, just to keep tabs in my notes. And we can go into the www logs folder where we have our access log. And I can add the access log here to peek inside. So we should see two entries here. One when we made a curl command, and a second one, which is the Python request made by the, I think this is stated that it's a Flask application on the Gnome diagnostic portal side. So that means that the diagnostic portal application is reaching out to our web server. This is excellent because it can potentially allow us to do JVKS spoofing. Okay, no problem. We can keep working on the terminal. It's just like after a while, the game actually times out. And the sad part is that for JVKS spoofing, the only information that you get under the JWT tool wiki is you do it like this, and your JVD goes here. It's a bit more complex than that because you also need to create the key pairs. Same for Hectrix, unfortunately. They probably just read the documentation, so this can be improved. Hectrix.xyz is, by the way, an excellent site. Actually, now they call it hectrix.wiki. And I recommend that resource. Okay, so this works, apparently. But we, first of all, need to craft a key pair and host our jvks.json file. So this is from the IDP site, and we need to create something similar. There are multiple tools out there. I found two. There is this one, makejvkey.org. So it's a JSON web key generator, but I actually prefer to use this one. This is actually from jvkset.com, and I prefer this one because this contains everything that we need. There's no really like big need for handcrafting anything. While this one, you still need to, I think, create the jvks.json file. So let's use this portal here. And what we need to keep in mind is to use the same key ID. So we're going to create a different key pair with the same ID in case there's a validation on the ID part. And we're going to first generate a new key. We're going to use the ID value IDP key 2025. Just going to copy this, paste it here. The algorithm, we saw this one is also mentioning RSA, but we saw in the web token, oh, not this one. Let me just grab our JVT so I can actually check what was it. RS256. Key use for signature. The length of the key doesn't really matter, and we want to use it for signing, and then we can generate our key pair, the public-private key pair. So let's generate this, and I'm going to save all of these. JSON web key. I'm not sure if I need the key operations because I didn't use it previously. So let's use it without it. And I just want to have the same exact thing that I had with different keys, of course, when I was doing the challenge. Okay, then the private key. Going to copy this to my notes, and the public key, I'm also going to copy this to my notes. And the other step that I want to do is create our JSON file here. All I need to do is take this PEM formatted public key and put it here. I need to provide the same ID, algorithm, key use. I guess key operations was blank here as well. We'll see in a second. I'm going to generate this. And this is what we need to put in our version of jvks.json. So under keys, we're going to place this thing here. I already have it in my notes, but just to double, triple, quadruple check, going to put it and make sure that this is the same exact thing. And then I'm going to create the same JSON structure so we can use it later. All right, let's place this one on our web server. Under www, I'm going to create a new file. And I already prepared this with the key that we generated. So the only difference here is that we need this array for keys. I really wish they generated that one out of the box. We're going to save this one here. There we go. And then we see that the file is over here. Just going to take these notes with me for later reference in case I need it. Did I mention that I'm not trusting myself on this? Okay, and we also need to prep our JVT tool in the .jvt tool _ tool directory. Oh, sorry. Just do it this way. Yeah. We have some pre-generated keys, and we also have a configuration file. This is the configuration file that we need to change. So the part that we need to change here is we need to replace our own keys. And then in the configuration, we need to refer those keys up here. In the public key, private key, we don't care about the ECP private key and public key. That's for elliptic curves. And also the JVKS JSON file. So that's the, those are the things that we need to add here. So for starters, let's put there our JVKS JSON file. Going to put the same thing that we are hosting on our web server. And I also need to create files for the private key. Just going to grab the private key here for us. Paste it in and save. And we also need to put in there the public key in a PEM format as well. Just this one. And then we're going to save this into a file. And now we should have a JVKS JSON file, private RSA, public RSA PEM, but we need to modify now the configuration of the tool and include those. I'm going to just comment out the public and private key fields as well as the JVKS and place my values there. Pasting it in. I like to do it this way. I don't really like to change the defaults from a configuration file because this is still good for references. I also often do an extra comment and put my name and the date there. So if I break something in production, which never happened ever, of course, then someone can actually find me and blame me for my actions. I do take full responsibility when I break something. We're all humans after all. Okay, so the next course of action is to craft a new token so we can authenticate as admin to the portal. I promise we're almost there. So we're going to make another request to the IDP portal authenticating so that we get a new JVT here, just to make sure that, you know, the expiry time is not passed. And I'm going to grab this value now. And we need to change the admin false value and this value as well. This is something that will be taken care of the JVT tool. I believe we can also change this one, but again, just let's do it manually. So again, we have these fields for the token. And I'm going to go to CyberChef now. And this from a base 64 shows us that the, where is it? Admin is false. We don't like that, right? So we want to make sure that we are able to we're able to log into this portal as the admin. So we need to change this one here, this second part now, from admin false to admin true. And I want to convert this to base 64. And I'm going to do this manipulation of taking this base 64 encoded value here, take my original JVT, and from the second dot here, I need to go and find the, sorry, from the first dot to the second dot, and then I'm replacing it. So you can see now that this is admin true in this case. And this is the value that we're going to feed in to our JVT tool, along with the URL where we have our JVKS JSON file now. This is what we're doing here. I have the crafted token here in the JVT tool, just double checking if this is really my crafted token. Looks good. And so we are going to use XS for spoofing. And we are going to tell JVK that for the JVKS URL, we want to use our web servers URL here. I'm going to copy this again for my notes. And we have now a fresh new token. Oops, I could actually paste it in here. That would be wonderful. Pointing to our web server with admin true. Okay, so let's see if that actually works. So we just need to go through the authorization step now, going to the diagnostics portal. So what we need is our crafted JVT here under token equals. Is this one. Just doing it in my notes as well. And we should be getting invalid token. Okay, fat fingered something. Yeah, definitely fat fingered something. This is an old token. See, that's why I'm doing all these steps. Okay, so pasting in the right one now. 7G is the end of our crafted token now. There we go. That looks much better. So we have session token from the application. That's good. So that is already a valid session. The question is, are we admin? And the answer seems to be yes in this case, which is awesome. Because then what we need to do is take this session token and in another curl command, going to the /diagnostic interface, we should be able to now access the interface as admin. And there is definitely a lot more information here than previously when we were just told that, nah, this is just for admin. So go away, little gnome. We are actually getting details. And the question here was, what is the firmware name? There is a firmware update available for refrigeration botnet.bin. Let's copy this one. And I need to do a refresh. The holiday hack challenge page. Go to the challenge and submit the name. And there we go. I know this was kind of a long challenge, but I think it's a very rewarding one once you're done. But yeah, it requires a lot of knowledge for sure. I'm going to paste in some notes and links to other sites. Hopefully I'm not getting into trouble with Google. I have to delete the hack tricks one, I think. Google is flagging those URLs. They started doing this about a couple months ago, and on my previous descriptions, they removed temporarily the sites, but I will just leave the YouTube ones probably there. You could see what other sites I was visiting. They're not going to give you too much details. Those videos are, however, much better to understand it. I collected them. I was kind of lazy and I just collected a couple of things from the Discord channel after solving the challenge, or why solving the challenge. I also peeked in one of the videos. And those are good resources if you want to dive a bit deeper. But I think this video now is a good reference on how to do JVKS spoofing with all the steps detailed. It was a fairly long one. Let's see, how much time was it? Almost 45 minutes. That's crazy. But we got a lot of hints from the challenge. So I think that this is still not a 4 snowflake difficulty level one, but 3 out of 5 would be probably better adjusted one. I probably would have left this one to the very end of Act 2 so that you have this, nice fulfillment feeling of solving a hard challenge and unlocking the new challenges. The rest of the challenges will be slightly easier. So come with me to the next video to find out what other challenges do we have in Act 2.